My parents have told me the story that one time my dad was driving in traffic and he would often get frustrated and aggravated with traffic, and he was cursing of some sort, forgetting that I apparently was in the back of the car. I was probably a young toddler. And growing up, I didn't hear my parents swearing, cursing very much. Um, my sister, she teased me. She was my older sister. And she would do this thing when she would say, "Ah, you said a bad word." And my response would be, "What? Ah, you said a bad word." Apparently the bad word was what? It was just this mind game she played with me. Growing up in the 70s and 80s, I remember my mother did not like the word freak. I guess it had come about kind of to replace another word to some extent, I guess. And so she didn't like to hear us say that word. Do you have stories
Well,
of curse
my dad
words?
used to,
Yeah.
his was always, oh, sunken ditch. And he would use all the terms kind of around it. It's kind of like from, what was that show we watched? Remember, they couldn't curse. Oh, I can't think of it now.
Okay.
They couldn't use the curse words. It was the the one that go into heaven,
All right. I'm not sure. It's
anyway, I,
not
I
coming
lost.
to my
So
mind.
anyway, uh,
The other one I know you've always said your dad said was "dang it to luck."
dang it to luck. Yes, that was his favorite. And
Um,
that was his main curse for anything. I don't know that I've ever heard my parents do any kind of like that. Maybe a damn once in a while or something like that. But
oh, I have a fun story. My niece and nephew told me this, that apparently when they were little, my brother would get mad and go, "Martha's Vineyard." And so they grew up thinking that that was a curse word. And they heard someone say it. And my niece told this story of how she was horrified. Can't believe you said that. Um, Flash forward to our own children growing up, and they were young elementary school, our older two children. We were getting together with friends all the time with our homeschool group. And I remember, I think it was my daughter coming to me and said, "They said I said the S word." And I'm like, "What did you say?" And come to find out, or maybe it was another child told me, come to find out the S word was stupid. So we can identify different curse words, different words that we call taboo or you're not supposed to say. I know when our kids were young, I would often say, "damn it," when I was frustrated. And I can still hear most of our kids as a toddler, "damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it." And so, feeling embarrassed by that. And I know when our oldest comes to dinner, he's just looks at us when our 16-year-old has different words coming out of
yeah,
her mouth that would not have been allowed when he was living at
yeah.
home, and just the freedom of a vocabulary.
So
So
hello,
this is Gina.
and this is Don.
This is Focused Healthy Family, and this is podcast number 163. And today we're talking about "don't should on me."
And for to start this out, we're going to talk about our uh, a oh, what the heck?
Caregiver tip, right, Don?
I was going to, but now my caregiver tip just disappeared somewhere. I think I closed it down.
Our
Um,
daughter is volunteering for Special Olympics today, and apparently they're doing face paint. And I see she's got a little bee painted on the side of her cheek. That means she's having a good time. Um,
it's coming back up just a second here. Um, so this comes from a tip I did some time ago. Um, about try using mirroring method of communication with your spouse or your kids. When you mirror, you reflect what the other is saying without judgment. So what I hear you're saying is, or so you're saying, then listen. This method includes validation and empathy. So it's pretty simple, but it was
well, and it can be so helpful in so many different situations. I was recently doing a continuing education class, as I do for my occupational therapy license, and they talked about the skill of, what did they call it? Validating listening. They had a term for it.
yeah.
And And I'm like, well, yeah, that's important to do with anybody, let alone someone with dementia. But to really hear them and to really let them feel heard and to express what they're saying. So
And it kind of goes to what you and I did some years ago about learning how to communicate with each other.
sure. Yeah, we participated in
We might need a refresher in it a little bit.
Orville Hendricks and Helen Hunt's program. We worked with a therapist who was kind of specialized in that program, working on validating communication. And the cat is jumping in my lap. Well, come on up. So, for something fun today, I recently saw this, got quite a kick out of it. It says Senior Citizen Texting Code. And after I read it, we can share this on the page. LOL, little old lady. BFF, best friend fell. ATD, at the doctor's. BTW, bring the wheelchair. CBM, covered by Medicaid. FWIW, forgot where I was. OMSG, oh my God, sorry, gas. And BYOT,
Oh.
bring your own teeth.
Well, we don't have to worry about that last one so far anyway. So one of the things I wanted to do today is this is something I did years ago in one of my old podcasts was the 10 words we, and I'm going to say shouldn't uh, best say out loud. And I think what I'll do is read them off just real quickly, and then we'll kind of go through each one. But so the top number one is should, and we'll talk about that. Always, never, why, but, ought, must, let's see, whatever, gotta, and have to. So we can kind of talk about each one of these.
Should you,
Yeah.
Don, you really should put your things away when you're done. Don, you really should turn the lights out when you leave the room.
Oh, that's a should that shouldn't be. Uh, I'm
That's
not
a
the one
should you
turning
should
lights
on
out.
me.
Ah,
So why is it not a good idea to use the word should?
well, think about it. It's either looking forward, you should be doing this, and you're not. So there's a stressful place there of you're not doing what you should be doing. Or if you're looking back and you should have done this, it's looking back at something that you can't change. And on top of it, whatever you did at the time might have been right at that moment. It's just when you're looking back and say, oh, maybe it wasn't the best idea, but to beat yourself up about that. I go through that. That's a that's one of my biggest ones when I'm dealing with clients is the should part there. We do it on a constant basis with ourselves, and it's there are times when that's it's appropriate, I guess, that you can would use the word should in your question without doubting it, but we have to really listen to what is it saying about us.
Well, and I
Um,
think when we use it for other people, it's very much pointing the finger.
mm,
You should do this right now. So it's very accusatory
yeah, that's good.
judgment, um, rather than I would like it if you would do this, or do you think you can? Or and yeah, like you said, on ourselves, we do this often, and it's a form of beating ourselves up, of getting frustrated with ourselves for not doing something, and it doesn't help us move forward.
Yeah. Well, I actually put the idea of instead of that, use the word wish. I wish I would have done that. That would have been nice. That sounds a little more gentle and it
Mhm.
doesn't really beat you up as much.
If you're
So
talking about, yeah, a particular situation and you um
is there somebody texting you there?
distracted, um a particular situation, and you want to kind of express regret, if you yell at your children, I wish I had done this instead. um so what's the next one, Don? And as you describe it.
The next one is always. And you think about this a big way it comes about is in arguments. Well, you're always doing this, or you're always not doing this. And
It's
uh,
rarely true. I mean,
well, yeah,
how often does someone do something 100% of the
well,
time?
yeah, waking, sleeping, all of that kind of thing comes into play. And that doesn't help anything. So instead of that, you might want to use something like, there are times when this happens or that happens. And you have to be kind of careful of, you know, throwing out anything to anybody like that and talk about it. That's why I think there are times might be good, but it's just something to think about.
When you leave your dishes out on the table, I get frustrated that I have
Wait a
to
minute here.
put them away for you.
We both do that.
Yes, Donald, he's getting defensive. And I even used an I statement. When I find dishes left out that aren't mine, I become frustrated.
There you go. Much better.
Does that feel less
Yes.
judgmental?
All right. The next one is never.
So this goes
It
hand in
kind of,
hand with
yeah,
always and never.
you never, you never do that. And it's again, it becomes, it's not really positive, it's not something that really happens, because 24/7, are you doing that? Um,
Lots happening today on
yeah.
my mom wants to know if I'm working on Easter. Got to get back to her.
All right. The next one is why.
Why? Why did you do that?
Yeah, when I talk about when I'm working with clients and we talk about the negative messages that are going on in their head, um, one of the things that I talk about is digging through them and kind of coming up with what's the root of it. But the one thing I say is don't use the word why because it makes you defensive.
So
And
you
then
shouldn't say why. You should never
ever,
say why. You should always find a different word. But think about, kids, why did you do that? I don't know, right? It automatically puts us in a defensive. It's accusatory, it's pointing the finger. Um, tell me more about what led to this. Tell me more about,
I use the word I put the word what, kind of find a what kind of statement around it instead of just a why statement. Um, The next one is but, and there's a couple sides to this that I think are important to this.
and we don't mean this kind of butt.
Um, yeah, you think about this. Like if I told you I love you, but what would that that leaves you kind of questioning
Are
as
you
to
leaving me?
so you don't want to do that, but you also have the
But
others. What?
you said, but you also,
Oh, I did say that, didn't
but in
I?
that setting,
I
it,
guess
but
that
also,
but there's also the other side of it. And I did a whole podcast on this, I call them the hidden butts. When I'm talking with my clients and I'm talking about,
or the butt behind my head. If you're listening to this, the cat is all over me here.
um, when I'm working with a client, talking about the negative messages they do. Well, a lot of times will come after a positive message. They'll say something like, I'm, I'll just say, I'm making $1 million. Let's say that. And what doesn't always come out is the but in the back of the mind that says, yeah, but your checkbook has zero in it right now. So it's kind of this hidden but that we don't express, but it's there. And when it's there, it just knocks. I mean, anytime you use the word but in most cases, it kind of negates what goes before it. And so you're really um, you're losing out on it. So we work on the butts big time when it comes to tapping and getting past that, so that when you do a positive statement, the butts aren't there for you. So all right,
The next one,
the next one is kind of the same thing. It's ought. You
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 ought.
you ought to be
It's
doing
another
that.
form of should.
Yeah, and it kind of falls in the same same uh, preference. I don't know what I suggested there is I would prefer that you could do this for me.
And it's funny, I guess because we don't use the word ought very often, when you say it, it doesn't have the same punch to me as should.
No, it's a lot gentler, but
I
it
ought to
still
do
has,
that. And I don't, maybe it's because we don't use it often.
yeah,
Doesn't have that harsh shh. It's an S word.
it's got the old English. No, I don't know. Comes from an old English that now is replaced with should. All right, the next one is must.
Must.
You must be doing this. You must be do it. What I feel like it puts a lot of pressure on somebody that you've got to get this done. And there are, well, it kind of goes along with deadlines. There's deadlines and that's probably not the best word either. Um,
Yeah, it's very absolute. To me, it feels different than, you need to do this. That's more of a directive, I think.
well, I put in there instead of that, using something like it is important to consider doing because I mean if you come up to your child and you say, well, you must be doing that, my kids will run away from me. Yeah,
So it's important that after you eat, you put your dishes into the
yeah,
dishwasher.
sounds good. See if we can practice that. Um,
We both do it.
and the next one, this is a big teenage, but whatever,
Oh,
whatever, Dad, whatever,
whatever. I think I bought a shirt for our daughter that said whatever or something. Um,
What is that? I'm trying to think what that kind of what would you call that, I guess? Is there a way of
Kind of an indifference.
difference? Yeah.
Um,
Don't
a
pay
little bit,
attention to
it can
me.
be a little sarcastic,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
with an eye roll in it.
Yeah. Well,
um, Sort of, it also goes hand in hand with the I don't know, the "aw" that you get from
oh yeah.
kids, but it has a little bit more of a which would you like, whatever. Um,
Well, and that's why you want to probably with an open-ended question instead of it goes back to the why question. If you use the why question, it sends up defenses
and
and that kind of
whatever's more of a response than
yeah, yeah.
um,
But it's probably based on what question you asked them. Whatever, they don't know it probably, or they don't want to know it because they're not happy with you. Whatever.
well, yeah, and to me, I feel it in the sarcasm. I can see people who don't like what someone chose, and they're like, whatever, or
Yeah.
they don't like either of the two options, possibly.
Put up a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
I lowered it to sip. What other words are on the list?
The next one is gotta.
Yeah,
Now that's kind of like uh what would be
it's
like
like a
should.
should.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you not too long ago that you gotta's replace the shoulds. We learn to keep the should out of our vocabulary, but
But we
then
put gotta
I got
in.
to do this and I got to do that and I got to do this and I got to do that. And
Well, and it puts a lot of that's another one that puts a lot of pressure on that. uh, I think I don't know. I've always had trouble setting goals, and the gotta get in there. I think is what kind of causes me to that I got to get this done. I got to get it done by a certain date and all that. Um, uh, what I wrote here is these are notes I had from before. These last two words, gotta and have to, tend to put pressure on yourself. So it would be more helpful to soften the statements. Example, um, instead of I gotta get more money, might be I am finding ways to bring more money to myself.
the other thing, when we're just thinking about what we need to get done, I learned this from my good friend and spiritual mentor. I get to.
Oh yeah.
Because I got to, I have to, I should. It brings on a sense of dread. Oh, I got to do these things. That means I don't really want to do these things, but I get to. I get to pick my daughter up from school. I get to go to work. I get to, um, have options for breakfast in the morning. I get to put the dishes into the dishwasher.
So I got a question for you. Do any of those statements have a kind of what I call the hidden but? Do they have a that goes, yeah, but I gotta, do you
Yeah,
ever,
I hear what you're saying. I guess I don't think about it when I use the I get to. To me, that's more of an affirmation that I'm creating, but there are
I'm
there
just,
are many times when that hidden butt comes along. I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head.
well, I guess what I would say is if I'm saying that I get to go do this, but you got an appointment that you got to make too, and then
But I wish I didn't have to.
yeah, there's something like
There
that.
there
But
could be a hidden butt behind it. Yet it's more of a mindset of changing around, I'm healthy, I'm able to move,
yeah,
I got to pick up um my son's fiance to take them to the doctor. I got to do that. I had the time and the ability to do that. And yeah, I guess, yeah, different things that we do. Um, yeah, I'm thinking
it's
about the hidden butts there, and I guess I think about that in a slightly different context. Did you have some other examples of the hidden
hidden.
butts, or they're more,
Well, I mean, I do, when, like I say, when I'm working with a client, there are a lot of them because the I've had a lot of clients that come in, sit down and say, I really just want to work on the positive. And I think that that's great. But what I always ask them is, I want you to really pay attention to what I call him my little munchkin on the shoulder that as soon as I say something positive, he kind of kicks me in the side of the head and said, no, you don't remember last time when you did that, and it throws out a whole different scenario for me that just ruins what I try to put out there. And so that's what I really try to get them to work on. Let's get the butts out. So when we do have a positive, it is real positive. It really plays out for us.
well, I think it's important to acknowledge the negative. We have to
Hmm.
give it a voice, otherwise, it will kind of creep up on us in subtle, different ways. And so I know when I've done tapping before, I'm excited. I get to walk, I get to take care of myself, but I've gained all this weight and I just feel like I can't, it helps to voice it out there. I think it brings down the intensity of it when we say it
Hmm.
out loud. If it's this hidden secret, this underlying message that we don't, we try to push it down. What's going to happen, right? The balloon in the water, you push and push and
Hmm.
it's going to pop back up.
Well, I talk about it kind of goes when I'm talking about we're in a program with um, the doctor that I'm working with has a program, and I talk about it moving people to a more conscious life, and most people come into his office and they're worried about something here is not working right. They become very aware of it, and that's why they come to us. And my job is really to have them become aware of what's going on up here. And so I actually take it a step further and I call it arm length awareness. And it's talking about, we tend to catch these, like you were saying, a negative thought, the weight or whatever it is. We catch it out here after the fact, and we do one of two things with it. We either beat ourselves up about it, you know, or we distract ourselves, which is kind of putting that balloon underwater, and it'll just keep coming back. It may not be right at that moment, but it'll come back. And so, what I ask people to do is we want to still catch it out here, but we're not going to beat up or distract ourselves. We're going to accept it because what I really find is when we have these messages, our mind is there to protect us and keep us safe and keep us from being hurt and things like that. And so it sees us repeating these same things over and over and over. And so when it sees us do it again, it says, well, you know what? What's safe for him is when he responds the way he's been responding. And so we have to say, whoa, whoa, wait a minute. I now see it. And I get what you're doing,
Mhm.
but we don't need to keep holding on to it. We need to work on changing it. And then it's small changes. It's not that we just jump from, I'm not good enough to I'm great in one big leap.
That's when you have those butts.
Yeah,
I am powerful and I am a wonderful
yeah.
person, but am I? I don't know.
So what I talk about is little tiny changes that slowly changes. The first thing might be just, hey, I see it. I don't really like it, but I'm going to accept it so I can begin to change it. And then we can make changes from there.
It makes me think of neutral statements. One of our kids' therapists talked about, jumping from the negative to the positive, and it just doesn't feel very real. So instead of, no one ever talks to me, I'm disappointed when people don't reach out to me. I don't like, being by myself, or kind of bringing it down to kind of more of a statement than that is
Mhm.
exaggerated responses, because a lot of times it doesn't feel authentic to jump to the super positive. How are you feeling today? Oh, wonderful. uh,
Yeah.
um,
Well, yeah, because the mind jumps out and
I
goes,
got out of bed and I got dressed and I made it, to where I need to go on time. It's sort of a middle ground. And so that's something to think about, especially with our kids and also our loved ones. I see that people doing this with their older loved ones, don't say that. You don't mean that,
yeah,
And they say, I'm tired and you know, I'm just ready to die, or I'm just done with this. And, so you're really exhausted. And,
yeah,
and if you meet them where they are, and they might come around to a little bit more neutral too. But a lot of people really feel the kind of toxic positivity I hear kids these days saying,
yeah,
and just seeing that, and it's like the over exaggerated, the always, the never, right, the extremes that don't feel true, because it feels very accusatory, um,
well,
and so our mind will kind of argue with that.
it goes into kind of plays into the law of attraction. I listen to Esther Hicks quite a bit, and she talks about, you know, envisioning and going towards what you desire. But she said the problem is a lot of times people they'll first start focusing on, I'll just say a million. I want to make $1 million or something. They'll start focusing on that. And then all of a sudden it just kind of changes to, but the checkbook still has, zero or, $200 in it. And then so they turn their focus towards the wrong way. And so that's why I say it's really good that we want to work on getting that negative out, so that we can focus on what we desire.
Makes me think of small goals. If you have a big goal, breaking it down into steps and doable pieces. So there's so many different nuances of this topic here, of words that bring us down, that can be accusatory when spoken to other people, or just a way of beating ourselves up, and finding kind of a middle ground, saying things. The big thing is using the I statements when you're talking to somebody.
Mm.
I feel this way when this happens. When this happens, I feel. Because you can be a very negative word.
Well, the finger comes
You,
out, doesn't, when it happens.
you
So,
do this all the time, people get defensive right away, rather
mhm.
than, when I find the dishes all over the counter, I'm frustrated. Um, um, putting it into that I statement.
Mhm. Any other thoughts, any other words that come to your mind that might be negative or
Well, just on a different note, thinking about, raising children, we talk about caring for loved ones, but also the whole gamut of um, being a parent in the sandwich generation, that we've told our kids words only have the power that you give them.
yeah.
And, thinking about those forbidden words and curse words. And I was looking up the history of swear words, and it said originally in the US, they were designed to put a curse on someone. It was literally, um, and so, like, I know I've talked about, and I've heard other people say this, and I really like this. It's one thing to, drop something on your toe and say an expletive, but it's another to call someone a name, to use it in a derogatory manner against someone else versus an expression. So I think that's an important nuance. And also something, we can talk to our kids about. We can have conversations with them about this, because they're just words, they're just letters arranged.
Hmm.
And if we give them so much power, like, when mom said, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, it's like it's this forbidden thing. And I know with kids, the best thing to do, a word slips, is kind of ignoring it, not making a big deal out of it. And I think we did pretty well when our kids did that. And then, they kind of phased out of that. They didn't feel the need to continue repeating the word, but realizing, especially as kids get older and understanding context of words and
Well, thinking about what we've gone through as a family, I mean, we've had a lot of anxiety in our family, and I think that because of the what they went through, a lot of the both all of our kids really, some of the things they've gone through in their mind, it was really hard for them not to use a few languages that trying to just get rid of it, and I think that played a lot on each of our children with the anxieties. I don't mean to put a good word on about curse words, but when you're so frustrated you can't even think straight,
yeah,
and you've got people doing things to you and different with like when some of them were in the hospital and had people doing things to them that you
the way they talk to them and yeah,
yeah, the way they
just
talk
those
to them,
those
it
frustrations. So when they talk to us, we're their safe space that they can let out those feelings when they're
yeah,
describing something, how they felt. Yeah, just not, yeah, allowing that, and knowing there's time and place too when you're talking about kids. And
yeah,
it's that way with adults, right?
not to do it in front of certain people.
There's, yeah, well, knowing your audience,
Yeah, yeah.
understanding and respecting people's different views on things, and respecting that.
Well, I think I go back to when our oldest was young, and there was a parent that didn't want their child to say the word but, And I think about I can only imagine that he run after when she's not around, he's going but, just really, and it's such a simple, word, but I mean everybody has their own preference, I guess.
Sure, and yeah, it makes things taboo unnecessarily. I mean that's a whole nother conversation
Yeah,
about
yeah.
body parts and things we're not supposed to talk about, and just the whole hush hush
Yeah,
mentality. We're here talking about open and honest communication.
yeah.
And you can honestly say, when you're in this environment, I prefer, our kids know not to watch their language when they're around their grandparents, other family members. At work in different environments. I do love when one of my elderly patients lets a word slip, or they express themselves freely in that way. That's it just feels real honest, and it's also a vulnerable
Mm.
um, um, kind of moment. And so thinking about the words that we say and how they can be used and their impact on us. And again, remembering they're just letters jumbled up on a page. And that could be kind of a fun game, to play with kids, get little magnetic letters or something and, scrambling them around.
Put him on the refrigerator like we used to do.
um, and, stopping and thinking about how what
Yeah.
those little words, what we're saying. If you want to go through that list again, Don, what are the 10 words?
Let me get the list back up. Okay. So number one is should, which we're gonna maybe go to wish as an option for that. The second one was always, and instead of that, maybe we'll use something like there are times. Never. Instead of that, we might use something like sometimes. Um, why? We might want to switch it to something like a what question. What's that about, or what's going on with it? The word but, we might want to change that to the problem I see is ought. Again, we might want to exchange that with something like I would prefer. The word must, we might want to switch that over to something like it's important to consider. Whatever, we might want to change that to is it your choice? Something.
Go
Is
ahead.
is there something else you wanted to say? I got a signal over here. I didn't know. Gotta and have to. There, it's kind of. I'm trying to think what I one of might be something like I am doing my best to get this work done. So those are our words for today that we hope you maybe take some thought into and think about how you might want to change your ways of talking. So that is our podcast for today. We hope that you've enjoyed it. We'd love to hear from you. Maybe leave a comment for us. Subscribe if you come on to any platform that you're doing, or give us a like. Uh, you can find out more about what Gina and I do, the consultations we do, that Gina would love to sit down with you and take some time to help you through the journey you might be taking with your aging loved one. Um, we also, she has her Ask the OT, which we're getting ready to put out with some really good uh, videos to be able to see about how to put things together, how to do things. Um, you also might want to check out about every week I do um, um,
A tapping group.
thank you. My mind's going. My tapping group. You can simply register by going to focushealthyfamily.com/EFT-group. You register so we can send you out the information because it's on Zoom. Um, you can find out more about us at focusedhealthyfamily.com. You can find us at Facebook at Focused Healthy Family. You can find us at Instagram at Focused Healthy Family 1 and YouTube at Focused Healthy Family. Join us each Thursday when we produce this podcast. We do it every Thursday. You might want to check out our past episodes. There's a lot of good information there. And you can find out all of that at focusedhealthyfamilypodcast.com. And remember, how you speak to your children and your loved ones today shapes their future and yours.